already done. So we're going to bypass that and let Jay sort of go from here.
Yeah, that's a pretty good introduction. We spend generally anywhere from an hour to an hour and a half in this room with a player, which allows us, of course, as Robin said, we put them in a suit, which allows us to trace the movements of these sensors in a 3D environment. So we're actually not physically watching your body move, we're watching the sensors move like you see in video games, and pretty much every elite athlete or sport uses this type of technology to analyze throwing motion in a quarterback, a stroke for a tennis player, you name it. We use this kind of stuff to look at the athletic movements within the golf swing. Of course, what we're primarily looking at is what the actual golf club is doing too. You can see what the body's doing, which is great, but we're watching you, so we know what the body's doing. It's really better for you guys to see kind of what's actually happening in real time. So after the player hits a shot, it's going to kind of play back a replay, and you'll see here a little bit about it. What makes this system both unique and good is that it's not a traditional camera setup where you have just a fixed frame. It's totally manipulatable by us. We can see this from 360 degrees. So although the face-on angle, such as you see on the screen now, is great, it doesn't tell the whole story of what's actually happening. You want to see it from behind or from the top. And I'll show you a couple of the angles that I really look at because they're really important. But what this allows us to do is, of course, we can move it physically by dragging the mouse around. And you can even see underneath if you really want to get into balance and weight movement and so forth. But a couple of things that we'll look at, for example, would be the top of the swing. And I'll pull this swing plane out of here so you guys won't see that. But you talk about body lines. I'm not going to say that we're necessarily going to be doing a lesson in here, but you can certainly see tendencies and trends within a swing a lot, and how the player sets up, how they transition, how much shoulder rotation they have, all the fun stuff to talk about. You can go right to his transition. See that this player has a great shoulder turn. Of course, he started at 6.8, and then at his transition went to 120. So he's got 114 degrees of shoulder rotation, which is great. Not that we're going to do a lesson, but these are the kind of things we can see within this room. And of course, when we get to the next page, we're going to have data, which really gives us what we're looking for as a fitter, maybe more so than the players. Now we're looking at speeds, we're looking at paths, we're looking at face angles, attack angles, the lie of the golf club, the loft of the golf club, and impact. So you can see, I don't know if you saw who this was or not, but he's a tour player and not a bad one at that. Effective lofted impact, you guys can see it from way over there. He's a 23.1. This is a 31-degree test iron, so it shows you what a tour player does to a golf club, what the golf ball believes is the actual loft. So a lot of people think that you just need more speed to hit the ball further. Well, the golf ball doesn't. It just knows what you show at impact. So this player is showing 8 degrees stronger loft, or 2 clubs stronger than the actual loft is. So it's why they did it so far. It's certainly a factor. Then there's more swing stuff to that. You can see if we went back a page to where we were, and we looked at him here at the impact position, you see the shaft lane there, right? You can pull the golfer out of there if you just want to concentrate on that angle. So you can tell that if that shaft is perfectly parallel, he would be at 31 degrees. But his hands are forward in a good solid striking position, therefore he's presenting 23 degrees of loft. So there are thousands of things you could show in this. I mean, I could go on, I could talk to you all day long about it, absolutely. I know you guys have tea time, so we won't, but there's nothing you can hide from this room. There's nothing we can't show. There's nothing we can't figure out in this room. So we start the day in here generally, because by the time we've left here, we've totally opened you up. We know exactly what you're doing within your swing, and we know exactly where we want to go with the equipment to start with. So it's kind of going to give us an idea of where to start with, and then we go outside, of course, to see the ball flight. Because we want to see that, as you guys know, that's obviously an important thing. Can't see that in this room, so we want to be able to validate what we found in here. With TrackMan, with our own eyes, whatever it may be. So again, about half the day is sitting here, and then the rest will be on the driving range. And really, putter is the most amazing thing. I wish we could even show that. It's really intense because, as I said to a couple of guys that I work with today, you think about a driver. If you're 1 degree off on a driver, you still probably hit the fairway, right? If you're 1 degree off on a putter, you miss the hole. So, and that's a whole other stroke, not a punch out or it's a whole other stroke. So we break it down to a 1/10 of a degree in this room, which is intense. I mean, that is, you can't see that with an eye. So this room allows us to really get as detailed as you could possibly imagine. You won't see it on a putting green a 1/10 of a degree, not a chance. So this room allows us to uncover every single thing we possibly could. So we use this room heavily. In fact, 99% of what we do on putter, besides getting out there and just making sure that it is getting in the hole, in this room here. So As I'll let you lead, but
That was awesome. No, that was great. I mean, at the end of the day, you know, he's asking me because I spent 5 years of my life doing this and helping develop this. And we worked with a software company not too far from here, up in Alpharetta, Motion Reality Incorporated, which was an offshoot company from Giant Studios. And we had been, when I started 11 years ago, we were doing motion capture, but it was nothing this fancy. It was just numbers, and I was looking at numbers all day long. And then finally we got into something like this, that you can actually use it for club fitting and for teaching. It's an unbelievable teaching tool as well. But the really big difference between this and a regular video system is you actually are quantifying everything. All the numbers that he's talking about, you're quantifying. There's more numbers behind the scenes that we would ever show somebody, because it would just blow your mind. You couldn't even swing if you knew all the numbers, right? But it's all there for us, and it's an unbelievable research tool for TaylorMade. All of these systems around the world that we put in, all the data comes back to TaylorMade. So you can just imagine the amount of information that we get on players' swings, their pass, everything that you can't see there, and how we apply that to our product. So it's been, you know, the first system we put out was 6 or 7 years ago, and there's still nothing to date that's as good as this thing when it comes to actually quantifying a golf swing and measuring it to the detail that this thing does. So it's just going to take people a long time to catch up. We spent a lot of time working on it, so it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
Any questions off the top of your head? I mean, there's a million things, I'm sure. Fire them away.
Do you use it more for club fitting or lessons? Or?
Well, it's equally valuable, absolutely. It depends now. Being that we're TaylorMade, we're certainly using it for club fitting.
Right.
But, you know, in some cases, you know, there are certainly elements of the golf swing that are going to affect and influence ball flight. So if it's drastic enough or dramatic enough, we can certainly show you what's happening. And then, you know, we can compare side by side, pull up, you know, a tour player next to you and say, look, this is playing, this is not. So we can certainly show you those things, but we don't here per se use it for instructional reason, like Jim Flick out in Carlsbad use it for teaching per se, but we're, you know, me specifically and our guys here are fitters, so we're working on the equipment side. But it is absolutely awesome for teaching. I mean, there's 1,000 things we can show you here, but lines on it, I mean, you name it, it's got everything. So it is absolutely valuable for that as well, but we just don't use it as much.
The fitting model in there is pretty intense, and the goal is basically to get you really close. But ultimately, you got to get outside. You got to get outside of this environment and prove it, and get on the launch monitor and just get that last little tweak. But